We might have done it.
We did it.
I think we did it. Okay.
Welcome, everyone,
We'll hope this works out.
to the Magic Guys podcast. I am one of your hosts, and today I am joined by the other host. Unfortunately, we number only two tonight. Our third is not with us, not for any particularly terrible reason, but simply because of circumstance, although I'm not sure.
It's our first real episode.
It is our first real episode, and what do we have to talk about today?
I'm still thinking about the music. I'm like copyright free music I'm gonna put up before this.
I thought that we had gone through this. It was either "Hurt" by Johnny Cash or any one of a number of original Justin Bieber compositions.
You know, Justin Bieber hasn't gotten back to me. I'm gonna do a kazoo cover of Johnny Cash. We'll cover our bases.
That seems, you know what? That's a good middle ground, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we can go forward with that.
Halfway between Justin Bieber and Johnny Cash's kazoo.
Of course, containing the best qualities of both.
Mm-hmm.
All three, actually, because the kazoo is its own element.
Yeah. The slight goofiness and childishness of Johnny Cash. And
he is famed for his goofiness and childishness. Yep, exactly. You ever listen to Folsom Prison Blues?
You ever seen that picture of Johnny Cash flipping off the person taking his picture?
Yeah, that's pretty that's pretty childish. If you're a
child,
if you're illiterate.
Oh. Hey Drake.
Yes.
Where is the worst smelling place you've been?
That's a peak. That's a fucking peaked audio. The worst smelling place I've been. Oh, I don't remember for the life of me. Seattle? I think that's up there. There's been some rank shit that I've smelled in Seattle. Just going down, like going to Pike Place Market with the folks back when I used to do that. When I was but a wee young lad. Getting there from where we would have to just pass through a bunch of kind of side streets to get to like the main streets without like encountering traffic, and there'd just be like some rank shit in those alleyways, man. Like you
literally?
wouldn't see anybody, but it would smell like a fucking alien crash landed in the middle of it just like maybe a couple hours before, and like hatched from an egg from beyond the stars.
Wow.
So that's up there. That's the one thing that's coming to mind right now. What's your stinkiest historical place?
Stinky story. Mm-hmm. I remember in middle school, I was walking down the street by the buses, and the bus was running, and it had that strong smell of a running car, the carbon monoxide in the air.
Ugh.
And there was a girl walking in front of me, and she had that, like, you know how those girls had perfume that was like really sweet smelling?
Yep.
And so the combination of the carbon monoxide, gasoline, and that smell has been burned into my memory of just something kind of unpleasant.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, I like perfume and like anything non-perfume just goes together terribly. Almost, I mean, like, I'm sure there are exceptions. Perfume experts out there, do drop us an email at this webzone, magicguys.gov. We'll definitely respond to you, and that is definitely not a bullshit site that I made up. Just give us your input and tell us how off we are about cosmetics and perfumes.
Have you ever smelt successful?
What does it smell like?
It smells like victory.
What does that smell like?
It smells like winning the home run. The
So,
baseball.
It
The soccer goal at the end of the field. The drive for sport. The promotion. Have you ever smelled
I didn't play baseball, so
Axe body spray?
Axe body spray. Holy, yeah, that was
That's
You
a
know,
smell.
whenever Axe body spray is brought up in conversation, there's always the invocation of Axe body spray being literally just sprayed around the hallways.
Mhm.
I don't remember that happening as much, but like there was definitely like people were definitely going crazy with it. You know?
Are you familiar with axe bombs?
No.
So what you do, what they used to do, I definitely never did this. I actually didn't. But what you do is you take a bottle of Axe body spray, you take a pencil, you shove it into the side of the Axe body spray can, and because it's pressurized,
Right.
it all releases, and you throw it somewhere. And it's just like a stink bomb.
Oh my god. That's not. That's brutal.
Kids would do it at schools. They would like axe bomb a room, like a classroom or something.
Man, we really that starved for entertainment. They're just throwing a fucking axe bomb into a room.
Let's just say, I'm glad we didn't learn about World War One, in middle school.
Did we not? Yeah, we didn't. We didn't.
No.
We were too busy learning about like. What were we learning about? Shakespeare? That's about
12
it. Really.
Angry Men.
What was it? What did you say?
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men. No, 12 Angry. Wasn't that high school though? Am I wrong?
Nah, I watched it in middle school. I remember there was like a really lame assignment where we had to like read a case, and we had to say whether the person was guilty or innocent.
Why? Why would? Okay. That's That does sound like pretty lame. I imagine the cases are pretty open and shut, like relatively speaking. Am I wrong on that? I don't.
It was picked out to be one of the ones where it was like in the movie where there were some facts that didn't add up, and so we as the jury were supposed to find the person innocent.
We're supposed to find the person innocent,
Mm-hmm.
but what
if
if
we
you
were smart enough?
what if you find them guilty because they do actually add up? Right.
Then you missed the facts.
Okay.
Thanks, middle school.
So that happens, and you should learn about that happening, perhaps by mistakenly putting together clues and doing it. You know, like I don't did your wise teacher penalize you for getting it wrong?
No. She presented the solution at the end. She was like,
Okay.
Little did you realize that the car the person was talking about, that they couldn't have been in two places at once. And why didn't their defense lawyer mention that? Oh, it's because their defense was stupid.
Their
Okay.
defense stupid, our defense good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, if you're you know, if you're trying to pass that, then I don't know what I'm trying to say with this. Actually,
This makes me sad.
yeah.
So that's why I axe bombed my entire school.
As
I mean,
well,
that's why I don't have a solution.
yeah.
I'll have a solution to that one.
Hey guys, this bit's staying in.
Successful.
The smell of success is the smell of copious Axe body spray sprayed from a depressurized can in the middle of a history classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Kind of going off Axe body spray cans. If one were to explode in your general vicinity and it blew off one of your limbs, which limb would you prefer it to be? Or body part in general?
Body part.
You know? Ears, eye,
Right.
hair probably wouldn't count.
Hair. That I
Hair's
don't.
too much.
That's you're not being general. I mean, you're not being
Yeah,
specific
yeah.
enough. You're
That's too loose.
There's yeah. Body part.
You
body
want an
part,
Anakin hand?
What?
Do you want an Anakin hand?
Do I want an Anakin hand? Does it work? Like, could I get a prosthetic that worked to the degree? I'm not super familiar with prosthetics, right? But I want a prosthetic that, like, generally... See, if that were to happen, I would prefer it to be my left hand. Because my right hand is way too valuable, because it's my dominant hand. And if I lost that one, then I'd have to relearn how to use a prosthetic to, for example... write and draw and things like that. Prep food. Like, see, I can use with like a mechanical grip. I feel like I could have like a much better grip than I do with my left hand, which would actually be rather advantageous. In addition, if I accidentally slip with the knife while I'm cutting food with my right hand, then if I hit my left hand, it won't matter.
Yeah.
That's hard plastic, baby.
Have you seen that there are prosthetics that are being made, and have you seen that? And Konami has licensed ones that look like Big Boss's.
Nice.
So you can have Big Boss's arm.
I'm okay with this decision. I think that this is the way forward, you know. And while we're at it, why not create like an Anakin prosthetic? You know, there's some people who would pay good money for that. It's a slick look, minus the glove. The glove kind of looks shit.
My goal is by 2025, I want to look just like Darth Vader at the end of his life.
You want to look like Mount Rushmore?
Which one?
Take a pick. Any one of them?
Which Mount Rushmore?
Which one? The replica. Of course, one of the many replica Mount Rushmores. Or perhaps you're looking for Mount Rushmore disambiguation. I don't know.
No. Teddy Bear Mount Rushmore. Emancipation Proclamation Mount Rushmore. How do I distinguish the Mount Rushmores?
Do you mean the different heads on Mount Rushmore, or
the Mount Rushmore that is on the Washington state flag? The Mount Rushmore that bought Louisiana?
Well, now, so you're saying that 4 Mount Rushmores together create one Mount Rushmore because Mount Rushmore is the name of the landmark, or are people going to this place to see one particular Mount Rushmore and like none of the other ones? Like you go to your family and you're like, this summer I want to go to see Mount Rushmore, and they're like, oh, which one?
No. So I guess there's some miscommunication. I hate to bring up Pokemon twice in a row. But you know how Pokemon is all a plural and a singular?
Yes.
Mount Rushmore is the same way.
Okay, I can see that.
So did you mean the plural Mount Rushmore? You want to look like plural Mount Rushmore?
I'd rather not sprout several extra heads. I think that's way too much trouble. Although there might be advantages. What I haven't been thinking about this recently. That would be a lie. But sometimes when I do think about having multiple heads, I think about why I would want multiple heads. And the one thing that I can think of is looking in 2 directions at once. But the thing is, like, if you have 2 heads, 2 brains, then that other brain is a distinct consciousness or personality, and therefore would see its own vision that you in your head would not see. Am I correct on that?
I would believe so. Yeah.
So then you would just have another head that is out on its own interests, but you're stuck in the same body. So it's just kind of a shit arrangement.
What do you think about having a face like he who must not be named? Voldemort.
I don't think I'd like that.
You have the scary face on the back of your head.
Oh, on the back of my head.
Like,
I thought you meant
yeah.
I thought you meant like
his features.
Like
I meant
Goblet
from the
of
first
Fire
movie.
onwards, like
I meant from like
sort of face, you know.
was it not Philosopher's Stone? That's the British one.
Sorcerer's
Stone. Where like at the end, it's revealed that one of the guys has like Voldemort on the back of his head, and he goes like, ah.
Right, yeah, Quirrell. I would not like that actually. See, I value alone time, right? I value time to myself, and I cannot have that in the same way that I can't have that with the second head.
Oh, I was going to say
personality. Imagine you can't even like. I was gonna say you can't even stick the other one in a jar if it's on the back of your head, right?
Yeah, I'm saying like that's also you. Like that's part of you share a brain.
So you're like Janice. I can see that.
You could eat from the back of your head.
I can see that. I'd have to wear like a hood or a turban, perhaps a purple turban, as it were, full of garlic, as the books may suggest. I would rather not, though. If I were given the choice between the face on the back of my head being an extension of myself and the second head on the other side of my butt, what am I saying? Like if I had two heads versus a face on the back of my head, and the face on the back of my head were me, or the head that were beside my head were not me, I think it might actually be more interesting to have that second head. Because imagine what they think about things.
Okay, what about both? You don't have to choose, right?
Okay, so
you have a head with a face on the back of it, and you have your own head, and that has a face on the back of it.
That's just double the fun, really.
You could eat 4 hot dogs at once.
Yes. I wonder how Airstream would work, because you're sharing lungs, and you can only take in so much air with your lungs, and you can only expel so much air with your lungs. So my question is, how would, as somebody who is interested in this kind of thing, how would producing speech sounds work if you have about, say, if you have 4 separate speech systems that all link to the lungs, the same set of lungs, like how quiet are you going to be when you speak? Like how do we I guess here I'm assuming that all 4 faces or heads or faces are speaking at once. I suppose that you could prioritize one speaker over another.
You put him in an iron lung and you just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's kind of defeating the point, though, isn't it?
I guess. You have a head out of each end of the iron lung.
What's the point of having like 2 heads and 4 faces if you can't travel the world?
You can't show people.
Well, yeah. I mean, you ever seen The Phantom Menace? You know that announcer guy, and he's like he's got 2 heads and they're playing off each other. Imagine if we were in the same room. Imagine the bits that we would have. All right. If we were the announcer man from Phantom Menace, we'd be like,
my question is,
welcome to the Booty Pod Race, the entire Outer Rim territories, dude.
Imagine if they got the guys from the Muppets to play that part.
Statler and Waldorf? Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be great, honestly.
They're just in Phantom Menace.
It would be better, actually. I don't know what Lucas was quite going for with how they came out in the film, just because they're not the greatest of that movie's aspects. And there are I think there are a few aspects that people kind of rag on that I don't mind as much, but we'll get to that in another episode. Anyways,
why isn't everybody Watto?
Why isn't everybody Watto?
Like Watto's type of creature, you know?
I'd rather not be 2.5 feet tall.
I want a Qui-Gon Watto.
Oh shit.
he's just flying 2 feet above the ground.
I like to think that it's Qui-Gon Watto. It's just Watto's body and then Liam Neeson's head. But
And
he's
voice.
wearing the same length of robe as Qui-Gon is wearing, so he's just kind of like, it just looks like a phantom, you know? A phantom menace.
and then there would actually be a use for the title.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It actually makes sense.
yeah, well, there we go.
Yeah. Speaking of Qui-Gon Jinn, I have a question here. Which fictional character would be the most boring to meet in real life?
The most boring to meet in real life. Oh dear. Peeta Mellark.
You can't even see him.
What? What do you mean? What do you mean you can't even see him?
You know, he says like, "Hey, let's PETA." How do I do a PETA impression? Because I haven't seen the movies in a while, and I'm just going off the books.
It's probably just like,
"Hey, you wanna meet in the park?"
hey, what's going on? You
I
wanna
say-
go to the park?
I say, "Yeah, sure, PETA. Let's meet in the park." And so I go to the park. I look around, and I'm like, "What? I thought PETA was supposed to be here." And he texts me and says, "I'm here. What's going on?" And I'm looking around, and I'm like, "What? I don't see you." And then he says, "I'm over here. You know, I'm a very good cake decorator, and I have disguised myself as the grass under your feet." And I look down, and you're standing on top of PETA.
I used green icing and I slathered myself in green icing and I'm hiding for you. Here is I brought you a dozen red roses, but first I hid myself in the ground with green frosting. Will you go out with me?
I work at a bakery.
Please take me seriously.
Oh, PETA. Oh.
It is okay. Do not cry. Do not cry. Do not cry, woman.
Oh, what books? You know, who's the kid from Diary of a Wimpy Kid? The neighbor? Rowley?
Oh dear, I don't remember. Rowley.
He's the kid who says, "Zoo-wee mama." He wouldn't be so boring, but he would be an interesting person to talk to.
Yeah, but that's not an answer. Give me your answer.
Yeah, boring.
Or do
Who's
we agree?
boring?
Do we agree? And like that's both of our answers.
I think PETA's a good answer, but I want to be original, you know?
Well, all right then. This podcast is all about being original, so go right ahead.
Nobody's ever thought of this. You have to be like really edgy and say something that's like really popular, right? Like Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes would be kind of boring, you know? Because he's just ODing on heroin.
As you should.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, he wasn't doing heroin. He was smoking opium.
I mean,
It's kind of the same thing.
yeah, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Holden Caulfield.
Holding Caulfield.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. He would just like say like, you want to talk to him, and he says like, I'm having a lot of trouble with life. You like my hat? It's a hunting cap, but I wear it backwards.
He just call you a poser and fuck off.
Say, you're such a phony.
That's phony, not poser. Who did poser? Somebody else did. No. Yep, it was phony. Holden Caulfield loves to call people out on their BS.
Mm-hmm. Holden Caulfield should host Saturday Night Live.
I think we should get Holden Caulfield on the podcast. What do you think?
I think so. Is JD Salinger around? We can call him up.
I'll get right on it.
We need to speak to your client.
Wait, what?
That's how books work, right? The author is like the client, or is the like the agent?
The author is the client of the agent.
Yes, but the author is the agent for the characters
Right.
who appear in their book.
Yes, the author puts the characters down on the page, dictates how they're seen.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of like a director. So, like, if I wanted to talk to Jennifer Lawrence, I would contact whoever directed X-Men.
I think you would contact Jennifer Lawrence's agent. But you could certainly try contacting whoever directed X-Men. I don't see why you couldn't try contacting them. I just don't know if you want to contact them for that. I'm not.
Like I ring up Guillermo del Toro, and I'm like, you know that guy who plays Vision in the Marvel movies? Can you get me in contact with him?
My name is Guillermo. Yes, I can get you in contact with Vision Man.
And Guillermo del Toro's like, are you sure you don't want me to get you in contact with Kojima? And I'm like, no, I need to talk to British man. I think he's British.
Who cares?
True. But boring fictional characters, you know, they're not usually made to be boring.
Say again?
Boring characters, they're not usually made to be boring, you know?
No,
they're
not.
Incidentally boring.
Right.
I think every character from Great Expectations.
I would have to have finished that book in order to agree with you.
I haven't finished the book, and I agree with myself.
Are you reading it right now?
No, I read it. I read like half of it in middle school, and I was not pleased. You know?
Right.
Never been the big Dickens fan, you know?
Yeah. I've heard that he's pretty good in like some respects, but like I don't like his writing style in Great Expectations. I remember in freshman year of high school, we had a book project that was one of our options to read and write little summaries on each section. And I remember attempting to read it, and as a freshman, I couldn't get through it. It's almost as though he was paid by the word to write it, because he goes on for quite a while.
It definitely wasn't written as a serial story that was chapter by chapter released in magazines and newspapers.
No, not at all. Not at all. It is a standalone work that was not serialized in the slightest.
And when your book is worse than the Scarlet Letter, you have some talking you need to do.
Damn, you just reminded me that the Scarlet Letter existed.
Yeah.
Wasn't there?
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Hmm? No, I was just gonna ask, like, wasn't there like a play based on that, or was it a play?
There's a lot of stuff based off the Scarlet Letter.
You'll forgive me. I haven't thought about that book in years.
It's a classic, you know.
Yeah.
I remember we watched clips of the Demi Moore film Scarlet Letter in class, and I remember to this day being utterly confused why we ever watched that.
I got more out of Dune.
I mean,
I didn't
fair
even
enough.
have to read that.
It's a good one. Remember watching Far and Away in American Studies?
No.
It's a movie in which Tom Cruise punches a horse.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, he fucks off out of Ireland and comes to the U.S. and then he messes around with the mob in Boston, and like,
I believe so, yeah.
the guy, Lieutenant O'Brien from Next Generation is there for some reason. And then he goes to the west, and then he races a bunch of people for an acre of land, and then he finally gets it at the very, very end, after having punched a horse.
I've always struggled with learning how to tame horses. You know, I play Minecraft, and it's always been a difficult spot for me.
Now you know just to punch him, just give him a good old uppercut.
I didn't realize all I needed to do was with my tree cutting hands. Just punch them.
Exactly.
They'll listen to me.
Exactly. Now you know the secret.
I always punch horses.
Well said. Well said.
I don't actually hurt animals.
I'm glad.
Okay, cool.
What if you consider horses to be people? Never mind.
You know,
Horses are not people.
boring characters. You know, so I think some people would say wrongly, Eeyore.
Right.
And I want to actually confront those people now.
Go on.
If you believe Eeyore is a boring character, then you're a boring character.
All right.
I've revealed.
So, why is Eeyore interesting then? Because I have a thought about that, but I'd like you to.
He's
continue.
he's the most complex character that's ever been in children's literature. He's like the Joker, you know. He hasn't fallen to the depths of nihilism like the Joker, you know. Eeyore is a troubled soul. I have written several volumes of fan fiction about Eeyore's past
Yeah.
and what led him to this place in his life.
That poor family.
His journeys through Vietnam.
He wasn't in the war. He was just going through Vietnam. some shit went down, man. Listen. You don't want to question him, all right?
He went through like cocoa fields and he saw people picking cocoa beans, and it really struck him, you know. He didn't know how to handle it,
as is to be expected.
They call it fan fiction, but I like to call it fan fact.
Fan reality.
Mm-hmm. Think about it.
Eeyore very much is kind of he's not really the Squidward archetype.
No.
Squidward is a variant of the Eeyore archetype.
Mm-hmm. But he's the one you're supposed to despise.
Right? The Eeyorean framework of the character, as it were.
Whereas a child can relate to Eeyore in they're looking at life as an empty void. When you look at Squidward, all you can see is something foreign to you, like the adults in your life who refuse to even be in your presence.
I mean, that's probably fair, actually.
Also, Squidward has a big nose.
You got him, bro. You got him. Shit. Shit, you got him. You sure got him.
You ever notice that Squidward walks on 2 tentacles?
He walks on 4 tentacles.
I mean, like two on each leg. That's what I meant.
Yeah, no.
He makes false legs. He wears a shirt, but no pants.
Faking his life, bro. He's faking his life. He's faking his entire life. You need to understand something about people who fake their entire lives, like influencers in the modern day. They are really hollow shells of people that blow away in the slightest wind.
Are you saying
like chaff in the breeze, like husks of grain, whereas the real grain is being stored, waiting for consumption, waiting to nourish a community, whereas all of these husks are blowing away and will be lost. Squidward is the husk, and we are the corn.
He's the archetype of the Hollywood actor, you could say, of somebody who has actually no talent at all, but still wants to thrive in their delusion. It's quite sad, actually.
No, whoa there, buddy. You can't just say that. All right. Hollywood actors work hard for what they do.
It's very happy. It's very good. Is that what you're saying?
What? No.
I said it was quite sad, and you said no, don't do that. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
No, I'm sad.
It's quite good. It's quite good that they're sad.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Cry more.
I drink your tears.
Drunk.
Like bacon.
Bacon in the wind. As it were.
10,000 bacons in the wind.
10,000 bacons in the wind. Oh dear Lord.
You know, Mount Rushmore would not be a boring character.
What kind of character would he be?
Which one?
Take your pick.
Okay. You know, I've always wondered with Mount Rushmore if I was able to talk to them all. Would they reflect their who they resemble? Or would they have personalities of their own? Or are they like those who they resemble after being encased in stone for 100 or so years? You know, I would like to talk to Abraham Lincoln after he's been stuck in a rock for hundreds of years. I think he would have a lot to say.
Abraham Lincoln looks concerned.
Abraham Lincoln would be like,
Help, I've been turned into stone. Please.
"Thank you for getting me out.
Why am
Here's
I
a
so...
diamond I found."
Why am I so large and made of granite?
"Why did you put my face on the side of a mountain?"
Why have you trapped me here? Please.
"And why next to Teddy Roosevelt of all people?"
Disappointing photos show how small Mount Rushmore is in real life. Listen, this is a headline that I just saw while looking at pictures of Mount Rushmore. It is not that small. If you look at the picture, do you see those trees right there? Do you see how big this rock is? That is still a big rock. You have no right to complain, insider. Have you ever carved faces into a mountain? I don't think so. I don't think you understand what size is. I think that you need to go out and see the world a little bit more. You need to go out underneath those trees and see how large they are, scramble up those slopes, and see how hard it is to get up to that height. I think that you need a little bit of perspective.
If you think Mount Rushmore is small, look at your own intelligence.
Look at your own contributions and just think about that for a moment.
Do you have a Pulitzer Prize for writing about Mount Rushmore?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't think so.
I wrote about Mount Rushmore once, and everybody clapped.
What did you write about it?
I wrote about how we often confuse the mountain with the people, you know? How the people are our most valuable asset as a nation, you know?
A nation, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how we seek to unify through a division,
What?
right? And divide, but through unity.
Divide and...
You know? Addition by subtraction, you could say.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We bring 4 people together on one mountain.
Right.
But we all disagree.
Right.
About what the mountain really means.
But this bringing together is set in stone and is therefore the ideal.
But you know, we all talk about the conversation. But do we actually converse about the conversation?
Right. That's the problem.
We're too meta. We need to be in it. Right?
Right.
Stop abstracting. Distract.
Right. We need to distract from these notions that we always go on about. You know?
You know, if you close your eyes, is anything really there?
I argue
Mm.
that only the things that you can perceive without your eyes when your eyes are closed are real. I have amended my theory very slightly. My theory used to be that you don't know that anything exists when your eyes are closed, and therefore nothing does. Which is a very very
flawed.
very Pythagorean way of looking at things. However, you can perceive things without having to see them. You can feel things, as it were. You can feel the ground under your feet. You can feel the chair that you're sitting on, the air moving around you. You can feel the hatred building in your heart for all things as the days grow longer and darker and shorter and lighter.
That's why sensory deprivation tanks are an abomination, actually, to society.
Why?
Because they actually kill everything. You think about it? As soon as you enter one, your senses are deprived. And so nothing in the world can exist.
So here's the thing, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that absolutely nothing in the world can exist, but if you're falling, and you close your eyes and you feel the wind moving about you, then only the wind exists, and nothing else does. So therefore, by falling with your eyes closed, you will have killed literally everybody and everything but the wind. Yes. So how do you feel about that? Next time you fall from a great height, keep your eyes open.
This is the only moral way to live, okay? You set yourself on a big tower above New York City.
Right.
And you look down and you stare.
Right.
And you never close your eyes.
Here's the thing, though. If you close your eyes when you're falling, from any distance, you cannot see where you're going to land. Therefore, while you are falling, that place where you're going to land does not exist. And any other sensory data that suggests somewhere where you are going to land is a lie. And therefore, if you fall and people say that you died from falling at great height, but your eyes were closed, did you really die at all, or is that simply a lie as well that you are internalizing?
You're messing this up, okay?
What do you mean?
The ground does exist. You know how I know?
How do you know?
Because you feel it when you hit it.
But how do you know that that's the ground? How do you know that that's not...
Because I felt it.
Okay. But did you feel it while you were falling?
No. But it doesn't matter. As soon as you finish falling, you touch it, and it exists.
Okay, but if you don't know that there is a surface that you can hit, you cannot see it, and therefore, as we have established, it does not exist, and yet you're saying that you can hit something that does not exist. So can the ground exist and not exist at the same time? Is that what you're saying?
No. It exists.
No, it doesn't. Does not exist if you cannot see it. That said...
Does that mean we can hear the ground?
Since my... We are not talking about hearing.
We made a new discovery. You know, because you said you can sense things in several ways, right? Right? Like you can feel things. And hearing is a type of feeling, right? It's all vibrations. Right?
No.
So.
Okay.
Can you hear the ground before you hit it?
No.
If a tree falls in the forest.
What if you can't see it? Do you know it exists? Therefore, does it exist?
You can't ask the question if a tree falls in the forest because I'm not looking at a tree, so therefore.
I think we're onto something, guys.
You're asking the wrong questions.
I think we really...
I can't remember who it was, but there's a guy, I think it was Sir Francis Bacon. I was reading one of his, articles, or something like that, paper he wrote. And he wrote something along the lines of, all the philosophers of past antiquity, they didn't ask the right questions, but I asked the right questions. And it literally reads like that scene from Princess Bride, where he says, have you heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Morons. So good.
Yeah, it does kind of read like that.
It's great.
It's interesting how that happens. But tell me, Mr. Bacon.
Yeah.
If that is indeed your real name.
I thought it would be funny.
How do you know if your eyes are closed that things exist that are outside of your direct perception?
You have to prove it that it's not true.
Say again?
You have to prove it.
Prove that things exist outside of your own perceptions that are not based on sight because you've closed your eyes and therefore sight is out of the picture.
Yep. Prove to me that I'm not an alien.
I can't see you. I can only hear
your voice. That's how you prove it. That's how you prove it. You can't see me. I can't be an alien if I don't exist.
But I can hear you.
This is the dumbest conversation.
You are in my sensory perception. And
Crap.
therefore you do exist, but I don't know how you exist. You could be anything. I just know that there is a voice in my ears. And I know that there is a name associated with that voice, but I do not know what that name goes with. Or what that voice goes with. You feel? Under this system. The system wherein when you close your eyes, nothing else exists but what you can directly sense. You could be a tall gray. I don't know.
I want to be a... What type of aliens are there?
Tall grays.
Xenomorph? A xenomorph.
You want to be a xenomorph? God.
That's the sound they make, right?
I think they make like that, and then they screech, and then you feel. The Greys, little green men, Nordic aliens. What?
What?
I'm on Wikipedia.org, the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit. I am on the article titled "List of Alleged Extraterrestrial Beings." The list begins with the Flatwood Monster, a tall humanoid with a spade-shaped heart. The Greys, gray-skinned humanoids usually 3 to 4 feet tall with large heads and black almond-shaped eyes, basically aliens. Little goblin men, little green men, and Nordic aliens.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't know what these are.
Speaking of obscure philosophy, while I'm thinking about it, when I was a child, I had this idea, right? I heard about germs, and I had always thought about like washing hands and stuff, right? Like, oh, this is interesting. This is an interesting like complexity, and I was thinking like, okay, you touch something, you get the germs on you, right?
Yeah.
So if you touch like poop, you're gonna get poop.
Yeah.
But if you wash your hands, do you clean the poop, or do you clean your hands only? My thought was, if I touch a doorknob and the doorknob is cleaned, then that means that maybe my hands are cleaned, or the other way around. I had no idea how germs worked, and I was very confused. And I asked my parents for like pointers on how this worked, and I asked them like about this. And I think my dad or my mom, like I asked them, and it was such a complex idea that I didn't know how to like phrase it. And so they said, yeah. And I thought this for like a couple months, and then I was like, this makes no sense. How does this work?
That's not an answer. I remember on the topic of weird questions and like weird beliefs. Man, I had a few, right? When I was really young, this is the first one I'll start with. I was in the car with my dad and my mom, and we were going to the city to do something, because at that point that was basically like a once in every once in a while thing. And Dad was talking about how, as a kid, he was bitten by a dog. And I remember asking, "Did you die?" And Dad said, "Yeah, I died." And I believed him.
I liked being a kid.
The second thing, another question that I asked, how many inches are in a gallon? No qualifier on on the inches. How many inches are in a gallon?
I mean, this is a fair question, you know?
That
You
is
have
a
a
fair
cup?
question. They're
cup?
both units of measurement, so therefore one must convert to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one was I was walking with my mom and I was walking back from the park. This was again when I was very young. And we had a neighbor who had I remember this very distinctly, had a long-haired white cat that would often go about on walks with this neighbor, and our two groups happened to bump into each other. And I was playing with the cat, and the cat put its paw on my hand, and at the same time, in that same hand, I felt like this pain, and I wasn't sure what was going on. I don't think it was the cat's claws. It must have been like some other thing. But from then on, for a while, I was convinced that there was a substance that cats delivered via their claws and teeth called kitty poison that you could be poisoned with, and that would cause pain when administered.
That's all it does, though. It's just pain.
It just causes pain, but that was there was some crazy shit that man. And it was a while that I carried that belief, surprisingly late. I don't know how earnestly I believed it though, but I knew that was a thing in my mind. Whenever I saw a cat, I would shy away from them. It was
don't want to get that kitty poison, you know?
Yeah, you gotta be careful of that kitty poison. I don't know. I don't. I'm just thinking about that now, and I'm like, man, if only younger me knew. Maybe it's I don't know where I'm going with this.
You spent years extracting all the kitty poison you could. And it turns out it was all in vain.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make a few sacrifices for science. You know what I'm saying? You gotta figure out whether that kitty poison really is all it's cracked up to be.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Did you have any interesting beliefs when you were, say, younger?
I don't remember a lot of them, if I had any. Yeah. I don't know.
It's fair enough.
I thought everybody played Lego Star Wars.
Oh, man. You just reminded me. My dad and I used to play a bunch of video games together. One of them was it was like a Star Trek arcade game. And it was where you go around and you shoot Borg, and then they run out of Borg, so you have to shoot other things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what was going on. Apparently you're roaming around the Starship Voyager, and then you go on board the Borg cube, and then you go back on board the Starship Voyager, but there's these pirates that have come on board in blue armor, and you have to kill them. And then there are more Borg, and then a monster has escaped. Oh no, what a shame. There's a monster aboard your ship. But that's not the point. My dad and I would play it, and it came with these the way that you played it was you had these sort of guns, these laser guns, sort of these those are the controllers that you used, and it was like a what would you call that? What would you call that style of game? Where you have a physical kind of prop gun that you fire a laser at the screen.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it's
laser gun sort of thing. And I was really bad at the game, and several times, this was told to me way after the fact. I would die, and my dad would not put in change for me, but he would pretend that he had fixed my side, because when you died, you had to put in play tokens, which you purchased for money. And he would pretend to fix things. And so I would think that I'd be playing this game and doing really well, when in fact it was just my dad playing. And he did the same thing when I was really young, and we played Lego Star Wars, because I would keep running off and dying and moving the camera, because at that time the Lego games didn't have split cam. You had just the same camera for everything. And so it would have to move with both people, so I would be like shunting his character to one side as I jumped into a pit and died because I thought that the animation looked cool. And so he would often, as far as I remember from what he told me later, way later, he would do the same thing where he would like deactivate my controller and I would think that I was playing the game when I wasn't. And I don't know how he pulled that one, because I swear I would have remembered it.
Kids, man.
Yeah.
I remember I was playing Lego Star Wars with my dad, and I would constantly kill him. Not on purpose. I don't think it was on purpose. When my dad would get not mad at me, but just frustrated. He'd be like,
dude, I do it on
stop
purpose.
Stop killing me.
I would do it on purpose. I'd like have him go over to some location, and then I'd just like lightsaber him, just like mercilessly.
Yeah.
And then in Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, do you remember like that game had a PvP system?
Oh, I don't remember that.
So there was a door that you could go into in the cantina, which had a bunch of PvP maps, kind of, and it was just player 1 versus player 2. But basically they just try to kill each other on that map. And I don't know if there was a time limit or what, but that was basically how it worked. And I remember playing that with Dad for a while before he stopped playing games as much, and I would just play these single player games on my own.
Well,
and now I haven't played that for a while, but I just got reminded of that.
What reality TV show would you most like to see made? Any reality TV.
I don't really like reality TV that much, so I don't...
You could change it, though. Upend the system.
Now, yes, no, you're totally right. You are totally right. But the thing is, I don't know of an aspect of life that I would really want turned into that reality TV format.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as you say reality TV, I know that you say that you can change it up, but there is kind of a certain mold that one falls into when one makes a show of this kind, and I wouldn't want to see any subject really put into it. The only thing that I can think of is the Amish.
I'm pretty good.
I think that would be interesting.
I think that is a reality TV show, though.
And it seems like, really?
Yeah, there's a reality TV show about Amish people.
I was gonna say, it seems like they have some form of principles, so I think it would be a little bit more interesting to see people work within a framework as opposed to just backstabbing each other and talking shit behind other people's backs, as it were.
Actually, I think the whole point of that reality TV show, not the whole point, but one of the major points was like people were cheating on it. They had kids who like were sneaking phones around and stuff.
Oh,
so it was all about that. If I remember correctly, I remember seeing a few ads for these shows, and I was like, "This is just such a weird show." I'm gonna keep watching Alaska State Troopers.
Oh man.
Reality TV show, I would do a show following George Lucas around. And it's not permission. There's no permission given to the people who are making the show.
Oh no. It's just unsolicited shots of George Lucas wandering around
and
making bacon and eggs on the stovetop.
And maybe that's season 1, and you just do a different person every season, right?
So okay, first one's George Lucas, second one is Quentin Tarantino, third one's Nicolas Cage, fourth one you get Tommy Wiseau and you have a slice of life. Maybe it could be like a shorter season. You have like 3 episodes.
What if it's hosted by Tommy Wiseau?
Ooh, okay. Here's a thought that I just had. Right, you have a focus for all of the seasons, and then in the very last episode is the one where Tommy Wiseau does the sit down interview.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right, but here's the thing. Ask them about things that are relevant to the season. Like, so how's your family life, huh? And then George Lucas is like, well, I don't know. I'm doing okay. You know, family life's a bit depressed ever since I sold Star Wars, but you know, things could be worse. And then Tommy was like, what, really? No, but let me show you this footage here. And then, you know, it shows him, you know, tossing and turning at night, muttering, "Oh, I wish I still had Star Wars." And then Tommy's like, "What do you think of that, huh?" And then you confront them on that.
And then George
same
cries
with,
in studio.
George cries. No. I don't want to think about George Lucas crying. It just feels bad.
It's just a very uncomfortable image for everybody, and they just sit there.
Yeah. Tommy Wiseau sits in somber silence, and then a smile creases his face, and he goes, "Not so consistent, huh?"
The new Joker movie in theaters next year.
Oh man, I think people would watch a show like that.
I think
Not
it'd be a good
not
one.
like a Joker show. They might watch a Joker show, but a show like we described earlier.
Yeah,
And then you have Tarantino, and confront him about. Don't worry about it. And then Nick Cage. That would be an interesting one. I feel like Nick Cage would welcome that.
I would want a reality show where it's like actually like it would be more like a documentary than anything, because I know like
Right.
there are like celebrity reality shows, and they're all just like fake made up stuff, you know. And I'm like, even if it's
Cake Boss.
even if it's boring, like I think that would be kind of interesting just to be like, man, Tarantino's life isn't crazy. It's just sad or something like that. Like that would be
Right.
interesting to me. I don't know. Like
Exactly.
like to see like it'd be like a One Punch Man kind of story, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody who's at the top and they just they don't know what to do with it. That might be what somebody's living, or maybe Tarantino is has an avid hobby of buying used shoes, you know? I don't know what Tarantino does in his free time.
I feel like he'd be the one to buy used shoes.
He just buys out Goodwills.
He just he just carts like a pile of used shoes up to the cashier or the person at the front, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to buy all these used shoes." And then the cashier's like, "All of them? I mean, there's people who need them." Tarantino's just like, "All of them. I want all of them in my fucking car." And then sales lady's like, "Oh, all right." And then she just spends the rest of the day carting out these shoes out to the car, and the entire episode is just back and forth.
And he says, have you ever heard about how movie theaters are dying? When I was a kid, we used to go to the movie theaters, and they used to have real film in the movies. And now it's all digital. The magic of cinema is gone.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that being pretty good. Now I have a question for you,
Okay.
if I might be so bold as to ask. What is something popular now that annoys you?
Something popular now?
It's a very broad question. I understand.
that's very broad. TikTok, I think, annoys me the most. No,
TikTok is up there.
no, TikTok. I maybe not quite. It's too naive, you know. I think Reddit. No, I don't want to get Redditors mad at me. They're too powerful.
I don't fucking care. Come at me.
Oh,
We're not a market.
I'm gonna go safe. Politician.
Politicians. Funeral pyre.
I'm trying to think of more lyrics. Napalm fire.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember a different song and I can't do it, so that'll do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Politicians, you can't trust them.
Yeah.
They all lie.
They're crooked. They're all out to get you.
I cry every night thinking about the politicians.
They will destroy you.
You know, there are a few good ones, but I don't believe the people who tell me that they're also liars.
Dang, you're onto something.
Politics
But,
is my life.
What is something popular now that annoys you? I'm gonna have to agree with you on TikTok.
TikTok's up there.
Okay, so
it's funny in the ironic way sometimes, but
it's less that it exists. I'm fine with something like that existing. It is how often it is brought up.
oh, fair enough. Yeah.
And I'm sure that at some point people felt that way about YouTube, right? But at some point in the future, think about this: TikTok is going to be basically the norm, and YouTube is going to be seen as rather quaint. How quaint?
I don't know. I think it fills a different place in the market. You know, like Vine used to have that place, and when people used to say I watched a lot of Vines, I think it gets the same reaction out of me as somebody who says I watch TikTok, where I'm like, okay, you watch a lot of very short, funny videos. I don't know. That sounds like I wasted enough time on YouTube to imagine spending more time on a different platform. Like I don't know.
Here's the thing. I've heard this is mainly people that I've heard talking about it, but like there are some who are like, man, with all this competition in the video market, looks like YouTube has some competition. And like you said, like the two sites, like YouTube and TikTok, focus on rather different while they are videos broadly, and people make them and upload videos, the characters of the two sites are rather different. So YouTube is long form. You can get away more with long form because it's more established, and then TikTok is like $19 Fortnite card ass shit, Yeah,
you definitely can't post a 1 hour overly exhaustive review of Far Cry 5 to TikTok.
No,
right?
You can't.
Right?
No.
Exactly.
It's kind of
you could post a 15-second video with the same content to TikTok. But that's another story.
I don't think you could.
Really?
Yes.
I think I could. I'd be Far Cry dumb and bad.
Long man good. All right. Long man good.
I've been playing Hitman, and there's a guy in there who sounds a lot like G-Man. And so whenever he talks, I always go, Mr. Freeman.
Dr. Freeman.
It's funny.
It's pretty.
Or is it? It's pretty good. Yeah, I just finished the story mode for that game, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I'll just agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice, quaint game. It's very nice. It gives you a lot of it's kind of like Dishonored. It gives you a lot of options to do things, and I enjoy those type of games where you get a lot of freedom to play the way you want to, or to try things in different ways.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Enjoyable. 7-hour review coming soon.
7-hour review. Oh boy.
Have you heard of this Joseph Anderson character?
That's the guy that Go on.
He makes reviews. Let me see.
Yeah.
How long his reviews were.
He did like a Fallout 76 glitch compilation that I'm aware of, but I know that he's done other things. I just don't know. There are a lot of those kind of people that I'm aware of. People that make long form content. And people oftentimes rag on long form content as like being far too long for its source material, or the thing that it's reviewing or breaking down. I don't think so. I think that whatever length that you need to explain a thing in enough depth that you need is having that length that you need is a good thing. Because otherwise you're going to have far less time to actually like explain the points that you need to explain in order to make your arguments. And sometimes these arguments can be rather in depth, especially if you're kind of going against the grain on something. You can't just have a hot take and not back it up, I suppose. Not in today's environment, as it were. But even in analyzing things that you think are good, sometimes you want to break down why these things are so good. You want to break down why it's enjoyable for you, but also why, objectively speaking, it's a good part of design. And so therefore I say long man good.
Mm-hmm. It's
unless you're just waffling, and then in that case I have some problems with how long you're making things. Perhaps you can condense what you have to say into less time than it would actually help you.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on just how you do with being concise and communicating well, and if you have enough content to fill it out. Because nobody wants to listen to somebody randomly rambling, not knowing what they're talking about. But Joseph Anderson, his last 2 videos were Witcher reviews or critiques. He did a critique of The Witcher 3. I think it's The Witcher 3. It might be The Witcher 1, but I doubt it. But a Witcher 3 review that was 4 hours and 18 minutes long.
Nice.
And a Witcher 2 one, 5 hours and 5 minutes.
Wow. He's getting up there.
That's crazy.
I mean, there's probably a lot in that game to break down, so I don't blame him for taking too long.
Witcher 2 is like a whole 2 paths to it too. It's a pretty big one. I mean,
there was a guy that did a Death Stranding review that's like 7 hours long.
Yeah, I remember him.
I don't remember his name, but
he advertised it. It was like, this is the 7 hour. It's like the 1 hour Phantom Menace review, or what did they call it? The Plinkett review. It used to go by something. Review. It was like a 70-minute one or 7-part, or I can't remember how they were like selling it.
We'll have to address those in the future episode. I think they're pretty good. However, I have things to say about them perhaps, but yeah, no, long form content is, again, long men good. As long as long men have something to say. And oftentimes they do.
But sometimes, and oftentimes also, they don't.
That could be said of short things as well.
Oh yeah. I was watching a Badlands Chugs video the other day. It was the habanero hot sauce chug.
Yeah, the one that you sent me, of course, right?
Yes, I highly recommend watching this video. Just look up Badlands Chugs habanero hot sauce chug. You will find it.
Subscribe to Badlands Chugs while you're at it. He's a real G.
Yes,
he's basically our patron saint.
And
I don't say that lightly.
I don't. I respect the amount of work he puts into what he does. However, he ends the video, and his outro is like 2 minutes long, which is kind of odd. Until you see that the exact length of the video is 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Right.
And you're like, man, I understand, like, the goal of reaching that. However, putting slow-mo throughout the video and having a 2-minute outro might not be the best way of getting there.
I can see that.
But
yeah.
But it's not easy.
Right.
This internet life. Especially if this is what you're doing for a living.
There's a video that I remember. I don't know if I watched it or if I watched somebody else break it down. There's a video by Game Maker's Toolkit called The Secret to Mario's Jump. And it's basically kind of breaking down how if you press the A button for longer, Mario will jump higher. And then he ends the video by asking, but what is the secret of Mario's jump? Find out in part 2. And there's no part 1 in the title. And it's a pretty short video. So I'm just going to say, because there's so little substance in that video, I think that's kind of somewhat of a half-baked counterpoint to short man good.
Don't be too short.
Don't be too short, but also write a script that has content in it, or have notes at least that have content in it. You can go off script, that's fine, And I'm not a video maker, so I'm not fully certain how difficult it is to make long form or short form content, but I know that writing, it's somewhat hard, at least for me, to be consistent the first time around. So like, or not consistent, but to condense one's writing the first time around.
Oh yeah.
So read through it again and cut out the fat, but make sure that there is stuff there. And hey, if the stuff that you have is an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours long, then that's good on you.
Yeah.
It's all based on what you think is necessary to keep in. But also your audience will become impatient with you if, for example, you just sort of waffle on about how if you press the A button for longer, Mario jumps higher.
I've always enjoyed, not always enjoyed, for the longest time I didn't enjoy writing. And so I was one of those kids who was like, the teacher would say, write a 500-page paper. And I'd be like, oh man. And I think I've grown up in the last few years, and I'm reaching a point where a teacher says, you can't write more than 1,000 words. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? How am I going to edit this down? Or has to write about philosophy. And I'm like, oh, gosh.
Right. I kind of come at it from like an opposite starting point. I've been writing for like ages. So like since at least second grade, because I wanted to write a book, and so I asked my teacher, because I'd brought like a spiral notebook to school on like pretty early on in second grade, and I was like, hey, during this reading break, can I write instead? And she was like, yeah, sure. And then that did it. That's the gateway drug, man.
Mm-hmm.
Writing terrible sci-fi starring your best friends by their real names at the time in a spiral notebook, where they blow up planets, is the gateway drug into writing 30,000 words and publishing it on the internet.
I mean, that's the way to go.
But my point in that is that, in contrast, when it is writing that I'm not doing for choice, yes, I will go over a word limit, but I won't go that much over a word limit unless it is genuinely, like you're mentioning, something that I can expound upon without feeling like I'm just adding shit in.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, an assigned book, an assigned reading such as Catcher in the Rye, or in my case, I believe I was writing about one of the books in the Theban saga, and I don't remember which one it was, but we read it in 10th grade English class. And I remember having to write an essay about that. It was a Shakespeare play of some sort, or a play.
Yeah.
Not a Shakespeare. I know that one's not a Shakespeare play.
Like Antigone or something?
Antigone, thank you. That's the name. Yep. I believe it was either Antigone or some other play. It may very well have been Julius Caesar. But the point is, assigned reading. And there's also an essay that goes with it. It's sort of your standard, like 5 pages and then you're done sort of thing. The trouble is, I never finished that because I had no investment in what I was reading, and therefore I had no investment in what I was writing, other than being afraid of failing in writing it.
Yeah.
Or failure to meet a deadline in reading it. So therefore, when the time came to write it, I was like, damn, I genuinely do not have any points except for very obvious surface level things. And so that paralysis kept me from ever finishing it. And I kept asking for extensions and, hey, can you push the deadline forward? Hey, can you push the deadline forward? And eventually the teacher was like, hey, you're taking a while to write this thing. Do you need another extension? I can't give you many more extensions. And I was like, yeah, like, give me a little bit more of an extension. And then I never ever turned it in. And I think that was a valuable experience because I think it really solidified, like, I have a hard time writing under
duress.
Under duress? Sure, why not?
Yeah, I've always found that, like, I don't know, when you're not interested in something, it's hard to write about it.
Right.
It's like, I I know it's painful to a certain amount. It's just like I don't want to have to write about, I don't know, what's something that people write about in school.
Literary essays.
Yeah, literary essays
Analysis.
can be good. It depends on it
for sure. If you care about it,
and
if you genuinely think that there is hidden meaning in a book, and you want to expound on the symbolism within a book, without the concept of symbolism being forced upon you by an outside authority, right? So
yeah,
finding the symbolism in a book for yourself,
rather than somebody telling you what all the symbolism is.
Or failing that, if you're not that type of person, then maybe expound on overused word, I know, but a theme, or how a topic is handled, right? Mm-hmm. Which I assume there's a lot of overlap between theme and the ways the topics are handled. I don't know. I would have to review exactly the correct definition of a theme. But like, my point is just maximal freedom in terms of actually being able to explore something about something that you're interested in, rather than A, having the subject material forced on you, and B, having the, as it were, the theme of the essay forced upon you, which is kind of partially what made senior year essays so interesting to write.
Mm-hmm.
And by extension, college essays, with senior year essays being kind of a transitional point. Because in senior year, I started taking far more elective classes, and writing essays for those was actually very much, it allowed me to think more about what I was reading, because oftentimes in those elective classes, they involved literature, and I was choosing, frankly, okay, so it was choosing from a limited pool of books,
mm-hmm.
but I could choose.
Yeah.
I wasn't just reading one book like everybody else was, or reading from a selection of books that I didn't care about. In fact, a lot of the selections were rather wide. And the books that we did all have to read as a class were interesting because they weren't part of this curriculum that hadn't changed in, generations.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not to say that there's anything wrong with reading old things. I think old things can have a lot of merit to them. But my point is that the choice helps.
Yeah, definitely. Huh. I think, also, when you reach that point, it's more acceptable to be critical of literature, right? Like, once you reach, I think junior year was that point for me, where I had professors who were actually willing to say I don't think this is the best book. People may disagree and stuff like that, but you have to be able to explain why you don't enjoy it, or at least try. And that was never a thing before. It was always this book is good here, and tell me why. And I don't
exactly
why why is this a thing that we need to write about? I think it's important to know why things are important, but I don't know. It felt like it was just way too much. It's just
right.
There wasn't enough freedom to get people interested in the first place. And it was only at the very end did they actually make anything interesting to write about. And I wish that had happened earlier. That way I would have actually paid attention and grown in writing, as opposed to being forced to, and then by the very end being oh, this is actually something fun. I wish I had the opportunity to do this more earlier.
Right. That reminds me, this is somewhat related, but in terms of reading,
mm-hmm.
I, The Republic, right, by Plato?
Yeah.
I read at least parts of that in sophomore year of college,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't really enjoy it, but I thought that the ideas were interesting. I didn't really, I guess, appreciate what Plato was doing in creating this dialogue, because if the listener is not aware of what actually Plato was doing in the Republic, he was basically writing, I believe, what like Socrates was saying to various different people.
Yeah, I think the conversation is
the focal character is Socrates, but Socrates is really just kind of discussing and kind of like debating other people on various different things. And I didn't really understand that. I just thought that I didn't really understand like the nature of what I was reading. Like I wasn't understanding what Socrates was doing or anything like that. And I'm not a philosopher or a philosophy student.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really no good at just picking those things up. But I recently took and am taking a class on sophistry, or kind of the people who have the appearance of wisdom and what they would do, and if they had any actual wisdom at all. And in doing that, I read a part of the Republic, and my professor said basically, okay, when you read this, right? When you read this dialogue, it's best to think of it like a dialogue. So not like something that is just kind of presented, but as like events that are actually happening, statements that are actually being made. Like think about it like as if it were happening right now, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of think about why Socrates is reacting the way he is. Like, he's not just sucking up to the people that he's talking to when he says, "Oh, you seem so wise." He's actually throwing them for a loop.
Yeah.
He's actually kind of ingratiating himself with them, and in so doing eliciting a contradiction, because he fulfills the role of the questioner, and we learn about this. And then reading the Republic, it's much more fulfilling. And I feel like reading the Republic dry versus reading the Republic with that context, and then say writing something based off of what you've read, I could do that much more effectively now than I could in sophomore year. And I will say that is likely true of some other books. So it kind of almost goes against what we were saying earlier about sort of being free to interpret.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you could be free to interpret, but it does somewhat require a context.
Yeah.
As in like how one should perhaps read certain texts. Otherwise it just becomes dry. So for example, I think about Shakespeare. Like Shakespeare is pretty dry if you just read it as is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about the intonation and you think about like what emotions are these people supposed to be conveying, then it becomes funny.
Yeah.
And even if you dig a little bit into the language at the time, and especially how it was pronounced, you can start to see the rhymes that he slips in there that don't show up in modern English.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all written the same. But like you can have two words that rhyme and make a pun in that time, but now have kind of separated and are very much sort of inscrutable. Like, why did he write it this way? And now I know why he wrote it that way. And reading it, I'm sure if I read one of his works now, I would find it either funny or it would actually leave some impact on me. Whereas reading them in high school, none of that was true. None of that explanation. None of that sort of,
the context.
Here's how you should read it. This is actually really funny. You know, this is a good pun. Either it wasn't explained at all, or it was explained very poorly to the point where it just confused it more.
Yeah.
I suppose.
I think what's difficult is there's so many genres of literature, and we kind of all encounter them the same way. Read this chapter and talk about it in class the next day, or write a reflection on it.
And in a Socratic seminar, which is fucking bullshit. Socrates would laugh his ass off, alright? He would sit you down, he would fucking talk to you about it. He would not have us sit around in an outer circle and an inner circle. The inner circle brings questions, and the outer circle listens and takes notes.
Oh my
god.
gosh.
But next class, the outer circle is the inner circle, and the inner circle the outer circle. The roles have been flipped. Now you must bring questions and supply answers. So fucking stupid. That entire thing, that's just so contrived.
I mean, I think
honestly, whoever wrote that up, they should have a Stern talking to. All right.
I don't think it's a terrible system, but to call it a Socratic seminar is just the most hilarious thing.
Yeah, just call it some other fucking thing. I don't know.
Like, have it be like a close, like a conversation, I guess, would be easier to say.
Conversation, sure. But that's, I almost feel like having just a conversation in, so for example, those did not work nearly as well. Those sophomore year Socratic seminars, as they were called, did not work nearly as well as in senior year in those literature classes, sitting in, say, groups of 3 or 4 or 5 and actually discussing the work among peers without any guidance. So for the Socratic seminars, one becomes worried about what am I going to contribute, not in terms of like actually having a point or having a thought about the reading, but getting the points in the gradebook. But in these groups of 4 to 5, without any sort of guidance, without any sort of grading, without any sort of constraints, I suppose, only being in there to discuss the work and make the points that you want to bring up, it's a far more effective discussion. And I would almost argue that it is closer to what Socrates would have been into. Because a lot of the dialogues, granted the ones written by Plato, are among small groups.
Yeah.
Or between 2 people. Or between 4 or 5, you know?
Yeah.
But that's like that free conversation where points can be brought up rather than they have to be written beforehand and you have to contribute at least once to the conversation. That's not organic. That's not going to work out. People are not going to enjoy this.
That's why I really liked
people won't get shit out of it.
Yeah. I really liked humanities class because it was actually like we would read stuff and people actually wanted to discuss what we were reading. And I think everybody who was there, like it was an elective class and it was a big commitment. So everybody who was there definitely wanted to be there. You didn't have to be there, and there was no reason you would want to be there or you would be there and you would not want to be. Like, there's no AP credit at the end. Like, this is just challenging work just to be challenging. It wasn't all challenging, but challenging in the sense that it was ambitious. We'll say.
and you took the challenge.
Yeah, and so that was nice to have people who were reading these, like, I don't know, all these different types of books and from all different points of view, and were willing to like discuss because they had a pure interest in the subject, and that pushed them into better discussions, right?
Right.
And even in like a class of like, I don't know, we'll say 15 people, right? Like I think we had 30 people, but we split up pretty consistently. Between like a more historical side and a more literature-based side. But even in like our bigger groups and our bigger conversations, we definitely like had a lot of participation. Some people more than others, of course. Some people were just not interested in sharing, but
right.
Yeah. It was a solid group. It was nice to have. I hadn't had that in my entirety of high school and most of my college life, so having that sometime was really nice.
I agree, and I think that should be the strat going forward.
Yep. I have a friend who wants to start some sort of club to try to reflect that. But we'll see. See how that goes. It seems like a really weird thing in a sense of just having like it'd be cool, but it'd be kind of weird to be like, hey, you want to come to my conversation club? Where we read something and we talk about it. It'd be like a book club. It'd be like a book club, but we're cooler. Like, I mean, like it'd be cool, but it'd be hard to like convince people to actually do it. And everybody has their own lives and everything that they're so busy in.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think it would be really interesting. Not even to have. So when you say a club, are you talking about an official club? In
Yeah,
this
like
context?
it could be like a college club. I think he had also discussed maybe just doing like something more, even more casual. It'd be more like just to get together of a few people.
That's
All
what I was
this
thinking.
is all before quarantine too, so
Right. Well, you could still do it.
you can still do it. I need to talk to him. That would be a really cool thing to see if we could get going. I don't know how that would look in the end, but it'd be a really fun activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look out for
How
that.
How did we get onto this?
Writing at some point, I think. Well, wait. It was
Did that
school.
all
It was school of some sort.
Did that all spring off of what is something popular now that annoys you?
It may have
that
been.
happen?
Yes, it was out of YouTube videos. We were talking about TikTok and
Oh,
YouTube.
Long Man Bad.
Brings it all back. We are the long man.
we are the Longmen. We'll be slightly shorter once this is released. However, we are long as fuck now.
You know. At this point, I'm not sure what I'm gonna cut. It might just all be there. It might all be there.
Yeah, we could have another long one. Another long discussion of nothing of much consequence.
Man, anybody who listens back is just gonna be so confused where we're like talking about this like obscure crap at the beginning, and then we reach into like a long discussion about writing and reading and how it should be properly done in an educational context. Oh, it's gonna be great.
Oh man.
There is no format.
We are in fact anti-format.
Yeah.
Because if you bring notes to a discussion and it's too structured, what are you going to get out of it?
Nothing.
You've already done the work.
Exactly. It's not organic. Like
Exactly.
like a carrot.
Like a carrot pulled right out of the ground. Like a sacrificial heart.
Like a sacrificial fart, am I right?
Woo! Woo! Damn. You got him. You got him.
Mm-hmm.
You have him right by the money, alright?
Wow. What was the I had a question. Oh, yeah. There's a question I had read. And it went like this. If you could have a video or audio feed, or both, at any place in the world, 24/7, available to you, where would that be? Or what would it be?
It's a static location.
Yeah. So like imagine a security camera is set up in one place on Earth, or not on Earth. Where would you put it?
Somewhere underwater.
Ooh, you'd want to go for like the aquarium vibe.
I loved Blue Planet when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that I could swim down deep with that. I didn't know what pressure was, right? So I didn't know what the fuck water pressure was.
Yeah.
I had no conception of that, so I was like, I want to swim down with the jellyfish, Mom. But like that's never really gone away. So I would, those I think they exist. There are cams that record various interactions in the water. So like kind of like a submarine cam, but like a permanent, semi-permanent cam, perhaps set up on the abyssal plains or maybe even slightly above that. And then like you'd have to somehow treat it and engineer it such that it is not crushed by the pressures under there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm just
basically it would be sort of hunting with your eyes for anything that flits across the screen, because you might see some really weird shit. Like there are so many just strange forms of life that have adapted to life down there just so deep, that we don't think about.
What about like a coral reef?
A coral reef would also be really cool, but I think for different reasons though.
Yeah. Like
Because,
deep sea is like just the Lovecraftian horror of it, you know?
I'm down with a little bit of Lovecraftian horror, what I mean?
Yeah.
But like
blobfish.
coral reefs are pretty cool. There's always going to be something there, more or less. Maybe sometimes they're busier than others, but the only other thing that I can think of is a monkey enclosure.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one.
because I think that'd be interesting. Perhaps like a either an enclosure or a place where they'll often hang out. You just have a camera. In fact, I think it might be more interesting to have an organic social situation in a place where perhaps one particular group of, maybe not monkeys, but apes, as it were.
Like Times Square.
I don't know if I'd want a Times Square camp. It's just people, man.
Wouldn't that be interesting though? You ever people watch?
So,
you ever think about that?
I was recommended people watching as part of getting inspired for writing, like writing characters. Seeing the mannerisms that people did, like how they would walk, how they would like sit and, I don't know, jostle one foot, or kind of loll their head from one side to the other, or kind of fidget, or do none of those things. Seeing facial expressions that people used when they were resting and not like showing any emotion, how they would walk, that sort of thing. Yeah, I've people watched at certain points, but we're going back to the thing of it was prompted, right? Because I was asking, in this case, my godfather, who is somewhat experienced in writing. I was asking about characters, and he was like, "You should sit down and people watch sometime. In fact, we'll do it right now. Let's go to this mall and watch people." That was kind of weird, but it was informative.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to do it organically. You like sit in a park and you just enjoy the view, and then you will just watch people walk by, and you're like,
yeah,
man, these people all have lives of their own. Like sometimes you just forget that. You're so engrossed in your own life that you forget, like, I don't know, there's somebody else who's engrossed in their life, and they don't care anything about your life. Like, exactly, yeah. It's crazy. You know? I was thinking like a waterfall would be nice, you know? Yeah. Like, it's like I was kept thinking of places, and I was like, well, like if I had one of the pyramids, right? Nothing moves really. Right. It's not like it would be like you might as well just have like a video recorded 50 years ago of the pyramids. You're probably gonna be the same. But a waterfall, you can kind of like, I don't know, it'd probably look the same, but it's kind of constantly going. I don't know, something about that would be kind of cool. There was a live camera feed a while ago that was sort of being broadcast on YouTube, of this town in, oh no, where was it? Montana, I think. And it was like a 4-way intersection in the middle of this town, and it went for like a couple years, and I watched it at times because I had heard about it, and I was like, what the fuck is this thing like? And so I would go, and like the chat had developed these memes kind of based off of the things that they would see. Like there were people passing by, and they would comment, "Oh, that guy's wearing a fucking 10-gallon hat. It's pretty neato." And then whenever a red truck came by, the chat would just blow up in like red truck, red truck, red truck, red truck, until it was gone. And then they'd wait for the next one, and then they'd start speculating about when the next red truck would come. So I think like a town square feed would be almost somewhat more interesting than like Times Square. Yeah, I could see that. In that way, because it's less like people kind of have an image of Times Square in their head. When I say the word Times Square, you have like, there's all these signs everywhere, there's people all over the place. But it's almost more interesting when there are not people all over the place. Yeah. But when people do come through, and when cars do come through, it is in fact like the busiest section of town. Mm-hmm. For example, you could set up one where I used to live, and you would see some very interesting things. And that's all I'll say. Area 51. Area 51. Yeah, I escaped. I'm sorry. You know, that's where I put my camera. Area 51. Area I get to 51. Know all the secrets. I know all the secrets now.
Area 51. You heard it right, folks. You heard it right. Area 51 cam confirmed.
Area 52 cam in the works. So if people had like a camera, let's say in Seattle, right, just on like a street, What do you think people would like wait and watch for? You know, like they had red trucks. Would they be like weed, or would that be too often?
Dude, weed, Lamau. Yeah, I think perhaps.
They'd be
But
like
that would be pretty often.
joint, joint.
Joint. I would say balding men, but I think those are too common. I'm not saying we should do anything about balding men. I'm just saying they are common in the area. When I say that they're too common, I don't mean anything by it. All right? There are many men who are balding, and I don't know why you would assume such things.
I've already told you what Agent 47 feels about anti-baldism.
Oh, man. Semi-trucks? No, there's a lot of those already.
Do you think people will get doxxed for not wearing masks now? I have a feeling that would be what happens.
Yeah, that might be what happens. Probably best to set it out maybe in 10 years' time. You have like a hyper resolution. No, maybe you just have like a crappy camera like they had in that town square feed that I was talking about. It was kind of a crappy camera. Like you couldn't really make out facial features in any real way.
You know, at our college, they have the camera that sits above like the main area that has like a really low quality image.
Yeah, and it like updates only every minute or so or something like that.
Yeah. I love I think I've seen myself on it once, and I know that somebody's got to be watching it somewhere, maybe, you know? And
they point at you and laugh.
They'll like point and they're like, who's this creep who's walking around campus at 1 o'clock in the morning? And I look at the camera, I just stare, but they can't see me staring because it's really low resolution. And
yo, what if they could? What if they could like it was like shit resolution, but like you look at the camera and suddenly your face is just like ultra HD,
a big
there was hyper realistic blood coming from his eyes, and he smiled and he took out a knife and he came at the camera, and I was so scared I pooped.
It sounds like a horror movie scene, to be honest, of like somebody like looks at a camera and then like without anybody saying anything, it goes full enhance. Enhance.
Yeah.
This is a person. It's you. It's you standing in the middle of the square.
It was me the whole time.
You ever see yourself standing in the middle of a town square?
Did you ever wish you were somebody else?
Have you ever had somebody think that that you were somebody else? You know, like
yes.
One time I went to a restaurant and we were waiting outside to be seated, and there was a person sitting there and he was very confused, and he said, "Didn't you just go in?" And apparently, there are people who looked just like us, who had walked into the restaurant and had just been seated.
Yo, dude, they're replicants.
And we decided not to eat at that restaurant.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
Doppelgangers are a bad sign, let me tell you.
I agree.
But yeah, when have you been confused for somebody else?
Not anybody else in particular, but it was another story from when I was really young, like, and living in my old hometown. My mom and I were walking to the store, and we passed by this kind-looking gentleman in like his early 40s, and we almost bumped into him. And this was back when I had like long hair and made a habit of keeping long hair. And the guy sort of like nods at us and goes, "Sorry, ladies, have a good day." You son of a bitch.
And dabbed on you.
Yeah, I was like, it was like really awkward because like no mention was made of it afterwards, but I distinctly remember this. Like, we didn't say a fucking word about it.
Yeah, that's really awkward.
Yeah.
I had something I completely forgot. That story caught me so off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else is catching me off guard?
The
length of this recording.
It's getting up there.
It's getting pretty long, man.
Might have to
long
cut
man,
it.
good.
Might have to cut it into 2 episodes.
We have the first episode where we talk about poop and reality TV. and Mount Rushmore, and how when we close our eyes, nothing exists. And then we have the second episode where we talk about teaching practices.
I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna split this up, because they're so different that
Exactly.
somebody who enjoys the first one is probably not gonna enjoy the second one,
Right.
and vice versa.
Exactly.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm over it. We'll do
That's
it.
the point. Is there right now to enjoy it?
Well, I think we're gonna probably stop recording soon. So, what lessons have you taken from today's podcast, or yesterday's podcast at this point?
Don't tell me what to do. Let me talk about book.
Okay, you want to talk about book?
Let me talk about book, please.
Okay, what book?
Dune by Frank Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good book. You all should read it. It's very long, but if you have patience and a functioning prefrontal cortex, it should be fine.
Or just wait for Denis Villeneuve to make the movie. And
Oh, watch that if you want to. And believe me, when that comes out, I will. And believe me, I will have words to say on the podcast. If it's bad, we're going to have a long one. We're going to have a long podcast
We're
where
gonna have
I
a
talk
discussion.
ad nauseum. And then you're like,
Oh.
Unless we've both read the book,
I haven't read the book. I need to read the book.
which I will strongly suggest before we do the episode, if we ever do that.
When is that coming out? Dune.
Well, part 1, which will be the only part, is gonna come out.
December 18th. It gives me some time.
Wow, December 18th, 2020. Wait, hold on. No, 2021.
Oh,
October
wait.
1st, 2021.
Google for some reason says 2020. They haven't updated it yet, so
Yeah, that's a bit strange.
this is really weird. There's a whole bunch of reviews on Google for it, even though it hasn't come out yet.
Really?
Yeah, it says stuff like, this movie was just so good, especially when Aquaman, Peach Boy, and Spidey's girlfriend start fighting off Shrek and Princess Fiona. My mom loves Tom. I don't even know who that is, for being really attractive.
Wow.
Yeah, this is I didn't realize that that's a new thing. You just make Google reviews for movies that haven't come out yet. I need to start doing that. I suggest watching A Serious Man. That's my suggestion.
I suggest not I suggest not watching Split Second, starring Rutger Hauer. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
What is the opposite of being sponsored? You know, because that's what we that's what we are doing for Split Second.
Being condemned and blacklisted.
Split Second is a fun family film about a man who is hunting down a criminal.
It's a fucking terrible film. Shit.
Throughout the film, they talk about the sex life of his partner.
Split Second fans get dunked on. I don't fucking care about you.
And Rutger
I
Hauer.
like this film. I don't care if your tastes are shit. My tastes are better than yours in this respect.
Has a relationship with his ex-partner, partner's wife.
Have you ever seen a movie that just made you wish that you were like an amoeba? That's Split Second. A split second before my brain cells got fried.
They found a guy who I think is supposed to be Satan.
You ever wondered what Rosemary Kennedy's life was like?
Oh my gosh, that got really dark. What was it like, Drake?
I bet the director doesn't.
Jeez.
We're cutting that one.
We're cutting that one. Fair enough. And a Split Second also features everybody's favorite xenomorph alien.
It's fucking. It's not even. It's like a man in like a motorcycle helmet.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like the king of rats.
Yeah, but he's not really, because like they mentioned rats, but like rats don't actually do anything related to the guy. Like
No,
the guy's not really in
no.
control
Because he
of
was
the
born
rats.
the year of the rat.
But that doesn't matter.
It does
Like,
matter. It's
you
his
can say-
zodiac or whatever.
That's stupid. You can say all you like that. I'm not arguing with you. I'm arguing with the movie.
Oh, somebody's review on Google. Okay, by far, this is the worst movie I have seen so far. The strangest part of this film, the amount of talent that was wasted. Not talking
Right.
about the money yet. Utterly stupid script, worst direction, abominable jumps in story, and the list goes on. I'm just so sorry about Rutger here. Such a phenomenal actor, wasted.
I agree.
Didn't think it was all that bad, really. Parts were funny. For a good afternoon movie, I recommend it.
Yeah, parts were funny. Some, I'm sure. I think that the dialogue was prequel tier. The entire thing was a mess. People act strangely in this film and are not quite human. And the monster, while being built up as having something to do in terms of the Zodiac with rats, in reality has fuck all to do with rats. As far as I can recall. Because it turns out that he's basically just Xenomorph Man, but wearing a motorcycle helmet instead of actually exhibiting any sort of artistic talent
Imagine
in terms of the designers.
Imagine if Blade Runner was mixed with Dirty Harry, was mixed with Alien vs. Predator, and it was all done
Mixed with
poorly.
asbestos.
Yeah, mixed with asbestos. That's what you get. It's pretty good. I saw it. It was a fun, scary movie.
Who says that? Who? It was not scary. There's nothing scary about it.
He shot the rat on that guy's shoulder.
Oh.
That was scary.
Oh no, it's scary because the rat, the motorcycle helmet rat man came and he kidnapped woman and
His-
Rutger Hauer and friend to go to sewer to save him.
His-
It's not scary. It's not. There's nothing scary about it. There are very few moments of tension, and even then, it's like it's nothing.
His arm is going through the train. Remember
That's
that?
not even. That's not even.
Remember
Look at
his
wrist. His wrist is going
his
through.
wrist is tearing through a train.
Look, they're not even trying. They're not even trying. They're like, look at this thing.
Oh,
Oh my god.
beautiful. It lost $1.6 million.
Good. Good. Deserves it. It's really bad.
Wow. So yeah, everybody should watch it and experience it.
Yeah, they should.
It's a classic.
Same with the Italian Job, but we'll get to that next time.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been it, I think. We discussed a lot of things. And I don't know how to end this.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to us ramble into the microphone about things that we either do or do not care about, depending on if you've turned off the volume or not.
You can find
Because
us.
remember, if you cannot perceive something, then it does not exist.
Please keep us alive.
Please keep us alive. We need to live. Please.
If it's only just in your perception, that's fine. I just want
And
to
really,
be.
isn't that all that matters?
You can find us on Spotify, on YouTube. Just look up Magic Guys. Sometimes it doesn't pop up, so you have to put it in quotation marks. Because Spotify is weird like that. But you should find us if you want to find more. We have our own page on Spotify and a playlist on YouTube.
All right.
We're a comedy podcast of
Very serious
days
people.
days past.
We're bringing it back to the past, as it were.
Imagine if Plato was a comedian.
Who says he wasn't?
Aristotle, more like Aris Chortle.
Exactly. Is that where we're gonna end it?
Yeah. Do you think they'll find pagans funny?